Die to live has often been offered as a, if not the, essential principle of ethics, such as need be realized. Would we really live up to the human ideal and attain to, say, the happiness and such that we are after? What, however, concretely might such a quit mean, die to live? Let's try to break that down and see what can be profitably learned. So, one question to ask would be what is a sensible principle of individuality? What makes for an individual? What makes for continuity of any kind? Meaning, we see that on the face of it, it's easy enough, it may be easy enough to distinguish individual entities, discrete things. If they're spatially separated, for example, we say that they are different things, a stone here and a stone there. With organisms, however, matters don't seem so simple because outwardly, for instance, my pet goldfish may seem to me to be one thing, but uh, so to say, from its own envisaged perspective, is it one entity, and how would we know? There's many options. One is that there's no experience at all, but that seems unreasonable. Two could be that there's experiences, such as the feeling of water, such as the smell of food, but they are not related to any single coherent something other than them, and it's just experiences. The third option could be that they are thus related. And so there's a number of options. By way of people, we see that there's questions, right? How do we know that? Or how can we say, in what sense is a person the same as an adult as he or she was as a baby? And there's multiple personality disorder where seemingly uh, several or more, perhaps a dozen, if not more, seemingly self sufficing, independent personalities with their own memories, preferences, even perhaps voices, mannerisms can all arise uh, kind of in a succession by way of a single body. It's not so simple to say what is individuality concerning organisms. Right? Concerning, again, phenomena, there seems to be some uh, level of uh, choice, right? Meaning I can say that there's a single class of things, my stuff, and then I choose which stuff is my stuff. We can kind of cut across some object and say, okay, a car is one thing vis-a-vis the objective of driving. It's a number of things, perhaps to the mechanic. Um, the engine is a separate thing. Right? So there's these distinctions, again, by way of organisms. There's more complexity. Anyhow, one, conception of individuality could be that of defining individuality as that which persists in light of a given purpose. Right? The ideational, volitional, emotional structure that arises in the pursuit of some given purpose. You see that that does seem so, at least on some level. So, for instance, a person that really takes to a given job, right, can really become, in some sense, a different person. I am an astronaut, right? Or it's a little advanced, but I am a mechanic. I am a doctor. I am a politician, somebody like this. This is my purpose. We see that while people have a given purpose, they oftentimes feel coherent. Right? I'm at work, I have the purpose of making a profit, and I feel like this particular person. When that purpose is taken away from me, I don't know who I am. This was the purpose of my life, right? To defend my country, to serve in some or another capacity. Now that's gone, what's my purpose? My purpose was to raise my children. Now my children are gone, out of the house, off to college, off to work, or what have we. Who am I? What is my purpose? My purpose was to be a home, taker or care, somebody that stays at home, takes care of the house, of the home, right? Now that that's not something I do, what is my purpose? Right? I had some purpose that was tied in with youth. Now that I'm old, I can't do it. Who am I? Right? Maybe I was an athlete for many years. That's taken away from me. Who am I? So we see that, at least practically speaking, if not in kind of the final absolute sense, that seems to be a reasonable way of thinking about individuality. It's in light of some purpose. Right? Now, consequently, then we see that in order to make a clean break while yet living, we need a clean purpose. Right? So, for example, to take some more negative examples, a person may acquire the purpose, right, of, let's say, uh, drug and or alcohol abuse, right, of a personality disorder, and consequently be, in view of that sort of teleological structure, a given personality for some given stretch of time. For example, for decades, I'm defined by my addiction. For decades, I'm defined by a given pathological way of relating to other people and to the world, meaning a personality disorder, what's called. In order to change, in order to have a break, that purpose would kind of have to snap. The cord would have to be snipped. Right? And then I would live in some more profound sense, but it would truly be a different person. Just like if a person is entirely defined through their job and then gets fired or leaves that job, they would still, in some sense, remain, right? In a deeper sense, maybe, seemingly, but in a very profound sense, it would be a different person. Right? Let's say that I've given my all to athletics. I have no other identity beyond that of sports. Up until age 25, then I get injured, can't play sports, permanently done. I literally may have to become a new person or feel like a different person. My whole structure of personality, my drives, my desires, my aspirations, my emotions, all of that just comes to a stopping point. Boom, a snap. Right? So something like that would seem necessary for negative things as well. Right? I would have to have a total break in order to become somebody new. So, such as to say that that thinking arguably can be applied to the notion of die to live. Here, what would have to die, the purpose that would have to come to an end, is our fundamental kind of self centered, self facing orientation, right? The human being, the would be human being, is born in the ashes of the animal. It can be thus phrased. Right? We do start off as beasts, as critters, as creatures. That is our purpose. Our purpose is to fulfill our psychophysical desires. Our physical desires and our psychological desires. That is our life. That is our identity. That is that around which everything else kind of clusters, our whole character or personality. And arguably, in order to truly live, right, that purpose would have to come to an end. There would have to be a clean break, right, just as with the other examples. And then I can become a new person, while yet in some sense being myself. Perhaps that implies that there's even a deeper principle of individuality concerning each individual. But that's a deeper and different question, perhaps. For practical purposes, that seems to suffice. That could be an explanation. We see that to live here would be life in the psychological sense, not in the biological sense, because that's something else. It would be life in the psychological sense, the experience of existence such as is intrinsically satisfactory, free, good, wide, open, and such. That experience, to truly be one, would seem to be at the cusp of that animal purpose, that psychophysical individuality that would need to, so to say, die, right, or run out of steam, we could say, in order to come out of the other side better. Right? So That's an angle that can be taken, and we can think about it. Thank you for listening.